Deal No Deal is the latest episode of the Clone Wars, building off of a lot of key points from last week's Gone with a Trace. I was hoping we'd get to see Ahsoka be placed in more tough decisions between survival and doing the right thing, and that's exactly what happened. Rafa hires Trace and her ship to do what she calls a simple job, and Ahsoka tags along. When we first met the sisters, we got a glimpse into how normal people view the Jedi. We see that the Jedi are out of touch with most of the galaxy. This week, we kind of see the opposite, because Trace and Rafa are completely ignorant of the larger galaxy. They've literally been living in a hole down on level 1313, and Trace might know how to fly, but she immediately makes some very simple mistakes, like flying into a military lane. But that wound up leading to a nice little moment where Anakin senses Ahsoka aboard the ship and calls off its detainment. It was a lot like Vader and Luke sensing each other in Return of the Jedi as the shuttle Tidirium approaches Endor. After a trip through hyperspace, the group arrives at the Kessel Run, which looks exactly like it should from Solo: A Star Wars Story. I'm wondering if they developed the look first for the Clone Wars and then Solo used it, or maybe the movie altered their designs and they had to shift to match. But then we get to see the nice side of Kessel. This is a detail that was mentioned way back in Star Wars Rebels materials, but it still caught me off guard. King Yaruba was also mentioned in the Solo Visual Dictionary. I'm betting as Kessel continued to appear in other Star Wars stories, its history from these episodes was simply taken into account, but it's pretty awesome that we're now able to see it all firsthand. The contacts on Kessel assure the girls that the spice they'll be delivering will be used for medicine, which has always been a potential use for the substance, but Ahsoka isn't so sure. She knows it can be used for drugs as well. This is ramping up her moral quandary from last week's episode. Sell the droids or not. They could be used for completely normal labor work, but they could also be used basically as battle droids. Ahsoka has to decide how much she's able to simply bury her head in the sand and pretend that her actions will have the best possible outcome. That becomes increasingly difficult this time around as they pick up the spice from the slaves who mined it over where Kessel looks more like we're used to. I thought it was a nice touch to have a Zygerian overseeing the work. When Ahsoka learns the spice is to be delivered to the Pike Syndicate, that's kind of the last straw, and she snaps at the sisters, demanding they do something else with their cargo. I really like the dynamic between Ahsoka and Rafa in particular. Rafa is angry at Ahsoka because she thinks she's taking advantage of her sister. She says she doesn't mind when people are working angles unless it involves Trace. And yet, here Rafa is doing exactly that. She manipulates her sister into this dangerous job. All the fighting causes Trace to dump the spice, which got an audible gasp from both Molly and me. This is just another example of Trace not knowing what the bigger galaxy is like. She thinks the Pikes are just small-time criminals like she's used to on Coruscant. She doesn't understand the danger she just put them all in, and now's a good time to discuss the theme for the episode: mistakes are valuable lessons often learned too late. Trace makes tiny mistake after tiny mistake the whole episode. She flies into the military lane. She leaves the air brakes on in hyperspace. Things that could have been detrimental or even fatal to them all, but they keep making it out okay until this time. This is the lesson learned too late that they now have to suffer the consequences for. They land on Obadiah, and Ahsoka attempts to secretly mind trick their way out of danger, but they're caught anyway, leaving us all on a cliffhanger for the next episode. I thought Deal No Deal was way better than Gone with a Trace. Last week was a smaller story introducing the new characters, but it was so great to get back out into a galaxy-hopping adventure, and it's just one of those stories that connects seamlessly with a lot of others. Solo, obviously, but the Pike characters Marg Krim and Fife appeared in Dark Disciple and the Son of Dathomir comic. It was heavily implied that Krim died in the novel, but I would guess this episode takes place before the book. I would also be remiss if I didn't point out Rafa's line about seeking fortune and glory. That's from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I knew there was a reason I liked her. But yeah, I liked this episode. I'm glad to see the story ramping up, and I'm hopeful for an eventful second half to the arc. Let me know what you thought of Deal No Deal in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page where we're releasing audio commentaries for all these new Clone Wars episodes. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.